Welcome to the Boss Experience, the podcast that gives you actionable tips and strategies to start your business. And I'm your host, Michele Davis. Let's get started. Thanks for joining me for episode 1 of the Boss Experience. In this episode, I want to share a little bit about how I transitioned from a career as a nonprofit manager to having my own business. I also want to talk about what you can expect when you tune in to the Boss Experience each week. And my hope is by the end of this episode, you will learn a little bit more about me and why I'm so passionate about helping other entrepreneurs launch their business. But you'll get some insight on how this podcast will help you start your business. So not too long ago, or at least I feel like it was yesterday, that I was sitting on my living room couch feeling like I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. See, I was at a very low point in that moment because I had just resigned from my job, and I hated this job because I was working 50 hours a week, and I had just gotten to the point where this job had kind of drained me of every ounce of energy that I had every single day. I had no work-life balance, and if I dared to take a vacation, I would receive text messages, emails, and even phone calls asking me to do work while I was attempting to just rejuvenate myself. So as I sat there on my living room couch, I realized two things. One was I was absolutely terrified about what was next, but on the second thing I felt was an overwhelming sense of relief that I was no longer at a job that was sucking the life out of me. So here I was just sitting there, and I had no idea what I was going to do next. See, I had no backup plan when I resigned. I just knew I could not tolerate another day at that job. And suddenly it kind of popped in my head, you should start a business. And I had no idea what having a business even meant in that moment. I didn't know anyone personally that was an entrepreneur. There were no entrepreneurs in my family at that time, which was in 2016. And I didn't personally know any business owners. So on the one hand, while I didn't know what exactly it meant to be an entrepreneur or to have my own business, I knew for a fact that I wanted more for my life. I was 45 at the time, and I just wanted sanity, flexibility, room to implement my own ideas. And I didn't even have any ideas at that moment, but I just wanted to create something that was mine and something that allowed me to feel like I mattered. And I wanted my work and ideas to be valued. And I wanted the freedom to be a part of my daughter's everyday experience. And that was something that was lost along the way, working these 50-hour-a-week jobs. And I just couldn't do all of these things and have all of these things with that particular company. So as I was spinning this whole entrepreneurship, launch your own business thing around in my head, I did look for other jobs, but I just didn't find anything. And that was frustrating too, because here I was with 22 years of experience. 16 years of that experience was as a manager, and I couldn't get a job offer. And so that made me focus even more on starting my own business. So I went ahead and started my business, and I focused my attention on my business full time, but not without some bumps along the way. See, when I first started my business, I couldn't make heads or tails of the massive amount of information online, I didn't know who to follow. I didn't know who to invest in or what programs to purchase or courses to watch. And because I didn't know, I ended up following a lot of the wrong people. I invested in the wrong programs and I lost a lot of money because I had to find my way in this online world where there's a gazillion coaches, consultants, service providers, and just your random entrepreneurs. Things didn't really flow in my business until I took a step back and decided that I needed to find a business model that aligned with skills and expertise I already had. And I knew I didn't want to create another job for myself. I wanted to be happy about whatever it is that I chose to do and whatever kind of business I chose to launch. So for me, having a business that not only aligned with my skills and expertise, but also it had to be something that I was passionate about. See, I had spent 22 years doing work that I enjoyed, I liked, but I wanted, at this stage in my life, I wanted something I was passionate about. So although those startup years were a little crazy, I learned a lot of important lessons over the last 5 years. And in addition to all of those lessons that I learned, I also learned some strategies for success. So I, along with my podcast guests, will share business tips, strategies, and our successes from our entrepreneurship journey every week. So this podcast is perfect for anyone that feels the way I did, sitting in their living, whether you're sitting in your living room or wherever it is that you're sitting, kind of figuring out what's next in your life. And so for me, I was just sitting in my living room on my couch, jobless, and feeling defeated. And although this was back in 2016, I know there are so many people in 2021 that feel the same way I did back then. See, for me, it wasn't so much about starting a business to make a bunch of money or to be flashy on social media. For me, it was about taking control of my life and being in the driver's seat for once. I wanted to be fulfilled. I wanted to live a life that gave me balance and income so I could be my best self and so I could take care of my daughter and so I could live the life I deserved without living in scarcity. When I started my business, it was actually the first time I had ever thought about who I was as a person. See, in the past, I had always thought about Michele Davis as the employee. I'd always kind of labeled myself as whatever my job title was at whatever organization I was working for at the time. So when I was sitting in my living room on my couch that day, it was the first time in like my entire adult life that I actually didn't have an identity that I could actually put into words. And so I think starting a business for me was the best thing I could have done to really kind of come into who I am and to be in control of my life and to define myself as someone other than someone's employee. I knew I was so much more, and so are you. So wherever you are in your process of getting your business started, tune in to the Boss Experience to learn business tips and strategies to get you one step closer to your goal of having your own business. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.